Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. To follow us on Instagram, go to No Name Music Cast Podcast. To send us an email, it's nonamemusiccast@gmail.com. And to visit our website, go to nonamemusiccast.com. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And as ever, Joy and I have had a passionate chat this evening.
You had to force Joy to be like, let's record.
Yeah, before I press record and play. But no, we're ready to go, ready to do some podcasting for you this evening. So I think Joy has some music news. Let's get to that first.
I mean, the music news is obvious, Tim. It's Freddie Mercury's birthday! Yay! I assume you knew that. I think you knew that, right?
I did. Both Brian May and Roger Taylor both posted on their Instagram today celebrating that.
So for those who do not know, Freddie Mercury is the lead singer of Queen. Do we have to say this on our podcast? Like, I feel like everybody who's we should, in fact, know. But with that being said, his birthday was September 5th, 1946. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he is the global lead vocalist for one of the best. We've talked about this in the last few years that got a lot of hype. It's very interesting watching as Sim is a little bit older than me. Well, we also know Tim's 107 and or 32. It's debatable. We don't know. But Tim's age is someone who's been watching Queen for a little bit longer than me. And I find it very interesting to see how we have this interesting dichotomy where everybody's obsessed with Queen now, right? But with that being said, it's Freddie Mercury's birthday.
Yay! I mean, I can tell you, I've been a fan since probably the late 80s, early 90s. And yes, there were fans, but it wasn't the same level of fandom that there is now. Queen, as I said, Queen have had like a renaissance, mostly due to the fact that they've been touring with Adam Lambert. And the fact that they've become the Beatles in effect, where you know they've become this timeless entity where you still have a couple of members of the band who's still out there playing, but their songs have become stuff of legend. And yes, we'll always have the Beatles, and people have always loved the Beatles. But as I've said before, I think Queen have taken over that mantle a little bit.
It's such an interesting thing because I think Tim's right. I think that the modern day version of what you think of when you think of the Beatles is now Queen. And when I look at them and I always look to Tim because Tim, if you guys do not know, his favorite band is what, Tim?
Well, I suppose Queen, yes.
So with that being said, Tim is the person that I look at when I think of Queen. But it is very interesting to see the way the world has morphed into this Queen obsession, right? In a weird way that wasn't even I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, baby. Don't cover me, internet. I'm not an expert on this. But I really do think that they've taken what you see with the Beatles and you see it in Queen now. And the reason I think that works so well is one interesting thing about Queen, and I've talked about this so heavily on this podcast. I've talked about people like Elton John and stuff. It's that ability, Tim, to have your genre, but be able to speak in different genres and do it well. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain it, but one thing that when you see with Queen is they have that ability that the Beatles had, and they have that ability. And the other person I think a lot about is I think about Elton John when I think about this, and everybody's going to come and be like, "Joy, Elton John is not the Beatles." I don't care. Cover me, internet, whatever. But it's that that ability to do that. I hope that makes sense, Tim. It's that transcending, you have your core of who you are, right? But then that ability to transcend into other songs. I don't know if that makes sense. That I think that Queen has done that. I think Tim's right. They become the modern day Beatles. And the only other person that I think about a lot when I think about it is Elton John. I really think he has that same kind of thing.
Yeah, and also Elton John has kept up to date with a lot of modern day artists as well. So he sort of spread his reach by the fact that he's collaborating with contemporary artists.
He's also not supporting this podcast, everybody. Like, he's not giving us any money. I don't know why I threw him in there. But did you know what I mean, Tim? Like, he has that ability to, like, be across different genres, and it works so well, and it's so interesting because I really talked about, I think that's what makes you different. Like, I feel like that's what makes them that long-term kind of like the Beatles. Like, it really does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
I completely agree with you.
Tim's like, we will always sponsor the Beatles and Queen. All right. Well, that was my music news because, I mean, it's Freddie Mercury's birthday. Happy birthday, Freddie Mercury. With that being said, Tim, where would you like to take this episode?
Okay, so I have one recommendation and then some music news, and then we'll get into my topic. So the recommendation I have, I recently did a lot of traveling. And I listened to a couple of audiobooks. And I listened to one audiobook, which was the autobiography of Geddy Lee from Rush. And that was a reasonably good book. I learned a lot more about Rush and Geddy Lee than I ever knew previously. But I mean, it's not a band that I'm super into. I like some of their music, but it was an interesting listen. However,
yeah, for sure.
As part of my travels, I also listened to another audiobook, and I listened to the autobiography of Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics, and his book is called Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. He has lived.
It is.
Yeah. He has lived quite the life. As well as being in the Eurythmics, he's produced all these people, he's written all this music, he's collaborated with every artist you could ever imagine. He's best friends with Bob Dylan, was best friends with George Harrison. Mick Jagger comes around his house, he goes to Bruce Springsteen's house. It's just like the amount of people. Oh, Stevie Nicks, he was collaborating with Stevie Nicks, he had a relationship with Stevie Nicks. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of people that he's collaborated and influenced and written music for and produced and all this stuff. And he said he owes the whole thing to him and Annie Lennox coming up with the riff for Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. And in the audiobook presentation, he played the bit that he came up with, and then Annie Lennox came up with the complementing part. And they went, this is kind of cool. And they recorded it on a little 8-track Porter studio. And he said everything that ever happened to him from that point on came from that one song.
That's pretty cool, though. I love that.
So I highly recommend, if you're a Spotify user, you get audiobook minutes built into your plan.
As we've told everybody on this podcast.
Yeah, in most parts of the world. And I highly recommend that you listen to this book, A Life in Music by Dave Stewart, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. It's fair to say that you will trip over because he does name drop so often. I mean, you'll be tripping over celebrities like you wouldn't believe because of the name dropping.
That's always my favorite, though, Tim, when you listen to these and like there's people that you would not associate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to say but I love when you listen to these audiobooks and you're like, do they even know each other? How did they even know each other?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you couldn't have this memoir without the name dropping. But I mean, it's staggering the amount of people that he's worked with.
I'm going to get yelled at because I cut Tim off. I'm sorry, guys. Don't yell at me. I didn't need to cut Tim off.
That's okay. But
if you listen to this podcast, that's 70% of it.
But again, book highly recommended, and he reads it himself, and he's actually a very good narrator.
So it's like his actual voice, like he's doing the narrating. Yeah, that's even cooler, though.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of time you get some random person doing it. I love that. I love that, like, how much. And the thing about it is Tim's not. I know Tim is not a reader. We've talked about this. That's not to insult Tim's intelligence, because Tim is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. But I will say that, like, if you don't like to read, like, these audiobooks are so interesting because, like, for me, I've literally listened to so many. Like, I've listened to the Cher one recently, the McDonald one that I listened to recently, and I like learned so much. And I'm like, how did these artists even know each other, right, Tim? Like, you don't even associate that they would know each other, and you're like, oh, they do. That's weird.
It's very surprising when you get into the weeds of these celebrities. I'm currently working through a Roger Moore audiobook, but that's nothing to do with music. But I have the Cher one actually ready to go, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it. I normally listen to audiobooks to and from
the
gigs.
Cher one is So shout out to Joy's mother. She gave her the Cher book. Joy didn't listen to the audio, but she read it, and she told Tim he needs to see it. He needs to see it. And that's not the words. He needs to listen to it. Whatever you do with the book. Cher's is such an interesting one because she was one of those people, Tim, she just literally knows everybody.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I guess that you assume that, but like, Do you ever have that, like, I don't know, Tim, maybe it's weird, but like, we'll get into Tim's topic in a minute, everybody. But like, I read these things and I'm like, I just don't know that I ever thought that Cher would be hanging out with insert random artists here.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm like,
very surprising. And the music industry is a very small world, really. So, you wouldn't think that rapper so and so would know rock musician so and so, but in fact, they share the same manager. So, of course, they know each other.
I mean, it makes sense when you look at it from that perspective, but you're also like, why is Cher hanging out with Snoop Dogg, right? Or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
exactly. Exactly.
It's very interesting. All right. Well, it is Tim's Effect episode because Joy is, in the last 3 times it's been her episode, has forgotten that it was her episode. So, with that saying, I think it is, in fact, Tim's episode this time. So, what would you like to tell us about the new book?
Well, actually, before we get into the episode, I do have one other little thing. So, as I said
Yeah, let's do it.
recently, I've been doing some traveling, and I
Okay.
just wanted to give a quick review of the Mr. Bumble Jam Night.
Oh, wow. Joy just hit her microphone, everybody. She's so excited about this. Continue.
Okay, so I had the opportunity. I had to go back to England for reasons which I'm not going to get into on this podcast, but I had to go back
course.
to England a couple of times. So on the second trip, I had some spare time. And I got to go to Blackwater, which is near Camberley, which is the home of the Freak Jam. Now, a good chunk
So
of people
exciting.
this podcast would know of the Freak Jam. I was the original guitar player in the Freak Jam, which is an open mic night. Started off in West Drayton, went to Slough, went to Burnham, and then it's now in Blackwater. And it's gone from pub to pub to pub, but it's essentially the same core of musicians fronted by Ian Husbands, who has been a guest on this podcast.
He also was the guy singing at the beginning of the episode.
Absolutely, singing Another Day, our theme tune. And I haven't been to this jam night since I left, which was 2011. I came back in 2017, but I wasn't able to go to it. But this time I had an opportunity. So I booked a hotel right by it and I walked down there because it was only a 5 to 10 minute walk. And I had the most fabulous evening. Not only did I get to meet some old friends, I got to meet some new friends who I met during the lockdown, who I only knew from Zoom. And I also got to play. And the first thing I played when I got on stage was the song Another Day, which is the No Name Musicast theme tune.
I wondered if that's where that was going.
And if you signed up to the No Name Musicast Instagram account, I actually posted a video up there and you can see me performing it. Now, I will say
Amazing.
that Ian and co have run this jam night in an absolutely spectacular fashion. Not only was there like old friends I knew from years ago, there was people from the Zoom era, lockdown era, but also in addition to that, there was loads of people in there I didn't know or didn't even know who they were. And I was so pleased to see that
Amazing.
the reach of this jam session continues and it goes from strength to strength. The pub was absolutely packed when I went there. I mean, I don't want to be a bragger, but I think a chunk of those people came to see me because I did announce that I was coming. So it was really nice to catch up with a load of
Tim,
different.
own it. You're amazing. So the thing about Tim is he's very humble, but he is known in the Freak Jam as one of, I'm sorry, every person I've ever known who's a part of the Freak Jam will openly admit Tim is known as one of the greatest guitarists. I'm sorry, Tim. Just be humble as much as you want, but Tim is a wonderful guitarist. He might not be able to read music and he does sit here and, but the thing about it is Tim is known as one of the most amazing, like every person I've ever talked to, and even people who did know Tim, like that didn't know with Ian and all these things, Tim, they've always said, I can't wait to see Tim play. Like you literally lived up to their dreams. I'm sorry. They were so excited because the amount is as much as Tim talks like very, we talk about he's a nerd and he knows something, but he's also a really fantastic guitarist. And every person that I've ever known who's ever seen Tim play or knows anything about him he is an amazing guitarist, everybody. Don't ever let him try to tell you any different. He can sit here and be humble all he wants, but Tim, you're an amazing guitarist.
Well, thank
Don't
you,
do
Joy.
that to yourself. No, every person I've ever, and I don't even mean that to be sarcastic. Everybody in the Freak Jam's like, I want to see Tim play because he is like that person that like people put him on a pedestal for a reason because Tim, and you always are so like shy about it, but everybody talks about your skills are they're apart. Like, you have this ability to understand music. Yes, you don't read music. We've talked about this in the podcast. It doesn't matter. Tim knows what a chord is. He knows how to play a G flat, whatever. It doesn't matter. But like everybody I've ever talked to who does not, Tim has like a reputation in the freak jam as being that guy. And it's not even sarcastic because the thing about it is he holds it. Like Joy will be like, I'm a great singer, but nobody ever hears me sing, so who cares? But Tim has done so much music and like everybody who's ever played with him is like, he's great. And then it is resonated. And like every person I've ever talked to has lived, like Tim was like, they came out to see me. That's not a joke. They did come out to see Tim. Said what I said. Sorry, Tim.
Well,
I'm
thank
gonna
you,
not
Joy.
let you. I'm not going to let you hide from that because that is you deserve it.
Well, thank you. I honestly, I do appreciate that.
Okay, continue. I just want to give Tim his praise.
Well, thank you. Anyhow, well, I had the most amazing time. I got to play. I got to meet people. I got to stand outside with people who weren't inside. That's a story for another time. And we just had an absolutely fantastic night. And then Ian very kindly gave me a lift back to the hotel, which was first class. I didn't really have to walk back in the dark. But I just wanted to give props to Ian for continuing to run that jam in an amazing fashion, to curate it to the point that it is now. I would say if you happen to be in West London-ish and you're anywhere near Camberley, Blackwater, that area, I do recommend going to Mr. Bumble's pub on a Thursday night. Starts at, I believe, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I'm not sure. I got there at like 10 to 7 because I was meeting someone there for a chat before it all kicked off. And then one by one, people rolled up. So when it actually officially starts, I have no idea. But figure it out, join their Facebook group and go along and support them.
Also, I've made Tim feel uncomfortable because if you guys could see his face, it's like, Joy, stop singing my praise. But it's true. Every person I've ever known who's a member of the no name music, not the no name, but the freak jam is like, Tim's like, I've just heard his accolades many years. And I don't know how to explain it, Tim. You're just that dude. You don't want to admit it, but you are that guy. And I'm just so happy you got to go back and see your friends. And it was a weird situation that Tim had to go back. We're not going to talk about it, but I'm just so happy he did. And every person who wrote me was like, we're so happy we got to actually see Tim play. And he was exactly what we've been told. So whatever you play, what did you play, Tim? What music did you play? I don't even know.
Well, I played Aslan Strat. It was very kind to let me borrow it. I played Another Day. I played Sound of Thunder. I played Summertime Blues. And then I also played with Mark Chudley. I played Little Blue Planet. And then there was one other like bluesy type song I played with Mark Chudley as well. Lots of guitar wailing. I got to do some twin guitar wailing with Andy Bradley, which was very interesting and a lot of fun.
Andy Bradley is one of those people that like I really love. I've never met. From what I've gathered, he's wonderful. But so I'm gonna give Tim some praise because I'm so happy that he got to do that because everybody who's ever been a part of the Freak Jam has always talked about, and it's Ian. Ian's always talked about Tim's like the greatest guitar player that he's ever played with. So maybe there's some biasy there, but I'm so happy you got to do that, Tim. And I'm very proud of you, and it made me very happy to see that have play out.
Well, thank you, Joy. It was, like I said, it was less than ideal circumstances. I traveled, but I did manage to see all my friends at the jam.
Sometimes, you have to make the best of the weirdest situations that happens in life.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So let's move on to this week's topic.
We've been talking for like 30 minutes. Continue.
So the topic is adjacent to my recent exploits. So I've done a lot of traveling. Yeah, I've done a lot of traveling recently. I've been on a lot of aeroplanes recently. I've crossed the Atlantic twice, in fact. Well, actually, crossed the Atlantic 4 times, to be fair. So I've spent a lot of time flying.
Okay.
So I thought, let's do an episode about flying and their associated songs. So songs with fly in them, songs with sky,
airplanes, something of that nature,
and all that kind of shenanigans.
Makes sense. Okay.
All right. So I'm opening this episode with the Foo Fighters and their song "Learn to Fly."
I, for some reason, knew that was going to be the one. I don't know why, but when you said that, I was like, it's going to be Learn to Fly, isn't it? It is. I mean, to be fair, it's a great song, Tim.
It is indeed. The video is fantastic. It has Tenacious D in the video.
And if you know anything about Joy, her husband will leave her one day for Jack Black. So
Absolutely.
what were you gonna say, Tim? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's also another one of these videos where Taylor Hawkins is dressed up as the female version of himself, who then Dave Grohl finds very attractive. And I think those videos probably tell you everything you ever need to know about their relationship.
100%. And the thing about it is this is one of those songs that, like, I also think about, wasn't there one where they did like an audio where they were at Wembley Stadium? I've seen that like audio piece of them like performing this, but also Learn to Fly. I think, it's like Running to the Angels, whatever. When I think of like the most iconic like 90s songs, so for those who don't realize it, Joy was born in 90. She was born in 1990. And so I think about like these iconic 90s music, and this is one of those ones that like sits there for me. And I've talked about, I have a little bit of issue with Dave Grohl as a person. It's a debate if everybody owes me an apology. By the way, Phil Reese said, Tim, we do not owe you an apology. Well, we'll debate on that in the future. But that looking to the side to save me, you know what I mean? That chorus might actually be one of the most iconic choruses that defined me as a child growing up in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't explain. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a good song. We also play it in Nightwings as well.
I mean, that's fair. But it's also just one of those songs that, like, I feel it's been in, like, a lot of movies. Kind of like My Hero from the Foo Fighters. Like, I feel like it's been in a lot of movies as a core. But yeah, this is a great song. It's a really good one. And also, Tim was flying, so like it makes sense. So Learn to Fly makes complete sense. All right, what's next, Tim?
Okay, so the probably polar opposite of the Foo Fighters would be Frank Sinatra, the chairman of the board, in fact. And he has a fabulous song called Fly Me to the Moon.
The Moon. I have heard of that song before, I mean, it's not new to me. I mean, the thing about it is Frank Sinatra is one of those people that's a very interesting person because as good as music is, I don't think he was a great person. I can confirm or deny that.
Well, I mean, he was a good person in at least in one respect because he was best friends with Sammy Davis Jr. And during the sort of the Rat Pack, when they were famous in the 50s and 60s, the United States has terrible segregation, and the rule was is if you was a person of color, you couldn't come in the front entrance. If you was an entertainer, you had to go in the service entrance. And Frank Sinatra said, I will not perform at this venue unless my friend Sammy Davis Jr. can come through the front door.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong about him. But the thing about it is that it's always hard to know in this time because there's like so many different things. But I will say that Tim just convinced me. Maybe my theory on him was right. But the song about Fly Me to the Moon is, I mean, I think it's the one song everybody thinks when they think about Frank Sinatra, maybe.
Yeah, and also New York, New York, of course. That's a famous.
Yeah. I also can hear my, fly me to the moon. That's what I hear when I think about it. I mean, it's very iconic. Also, I always think about it as the fact that his eyes were very blue, but I'm not 100% convinced that his eyes were actually that blue or if they were like, I'm seeing like these pictures of him where his eyes were that blue too. I don't know.
I don't know. They used to call him Old Blue Eyes.
But do you ever wonder, like, when we see that and when we talk about this now, is this true? Or if that's what they're putting out for us to see and were his eyes really that blue? I will never know. I don't know.
Well, there we are.
This is
going to become another Cliff Richard sandwich moment.
I will never know. No, I think about no, I'm still mad about this sandwich. I want everybody in this podcast world to know. I just gave Tim all his props, talked about the blue eyes, but there is one thing I want everybody to know. That sandwich still has me mad. Because who drives a bus and puts a sandwich on like Tim? Who puts their sandwich on a cup while they're driving a bus? I just want everyone to know I will never not be mad about that sandwich.
I want to get bumper stickers made with at one end, it has the No Name Musicast logo. And on the other end, it just says Cliff Richard sandwich and an exclamation mark.
But the thing about it is, why am I the first person to call that out? Logistically, I feel like this is the HR manager coming out at me, Tim. Don't put your sandwich on a cup. Like, who does that? I don't understand. Like, and there's so many questions. Was it a peanut butter and jelly? Was it a ham sandwich? What was in the drink? If it spilled, like, did they screw up the sandwich? I have so many. Like, if it were coffee and it were a peanut butter and jelly, maybe, okay, not so bad. But, like, if you have coffee in that and there was a literal ham sandwich, who wants coffee in their ham sandwich, Tim?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been peanut butter and jelly because that's very much an American thing. And that wasn't a thing in England in the 60s and 50s and 60s. It would have been a cup of tea. That makes it worse. It would have been a cup of tea.
Fine, tea.
It probably was a ham sandwich if I had to guess.
No one wants tea on their ham sandwich. What if they had to break suddenly? Some person had to get in front of them and they had to break suddenly. And now you just have tea all over your ham sandwich. Who wants to eat that? I have so many logistic questions, and that's probably the HR person to me. But I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. As soon as I saw this, I was like, who was driving a bus who just put their sandwich on their cup? There's no Ziploc bag. Anyway, all right. Well, this episode is taking a turn, but I still logistically hate this. I hate that. I hate it. I just don't know why it bothers me so, Tim. It's like the Cher video where she's in front of the thing and you hate that so much. What is it? Where she's in front of the bottle ship?
Oh, yeah. If I could turn back time.
Yeah, Tim hates that she was in front of the battleship. Joy hates that the sandwich was on the cup. We'll never live it down. Continue.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on from this thorny sandwich agenda.
I'm still mad about it.
And I'm going to move on to an artist which I don't think this has ever come up before. But okay. I'm going to ask you because I want to know your position on this artist. So,
oh no,
this is Flight of the Conchords.
I do know what that is, yes.
And it's the song Fashion is Danger, and obviously Flight from Flight of the Conchords. From their second album, I Told You I Was Freaky, which ties them into the second season of Flight of the Conchords. Now, I love Flight of the Conchords. They are a New Zealand music duo who were based in New York for this series. Obviously, it's a work of fiction, though Jermaine and Brett are real people, and they have their real names in the TV series, but it is a work of fiction, and Murray is their manager.
A goat in a boat, Tim.
Yeah.
I hope that made sense to you. I hope that wasn't lost.
Sure, absolutely. But have you seen both seasons of Flight of the Conchords?
No, I have not. I'm sorry, I'm lost on that
Joy.
one. I do know this song, but I don't know what the... Wait, is it a show? What am I missing? Where's the...
How can you have not seen Flight of the Conchords? I don't watch TV, and I've seen Flight of the Conchords. It's one of our favorite TV shows.
I didn't know it was a show.
It is hilarious.
Oh no, I'm lost on this one. I'm sorry, Tim.
And you have the thing is you have to bring in as well is how
song.
if you take contemporary politics out of the equation, but generally. The Canadians don't want to be mistaken for American people. Yeah. Generally, that's how it always is. This is its own country and its own identity. So New Zealanders don't want to be mistaken for Australians. And there were several scenes in this where Jermaine spends a romantic evening with an Australian, and then they try and completely distance himself from him. It is hilarious.
I don't know that I knew it was a show, to be honest. I've heard the music, but I don't know that I ever really knew it was an actual is it a show or a movie? I don't know.
It's a show. It's an HBO series from the early 2000s. I have to get this to you, Joy.
Wow, it's crazy to me that Tim knew this and I didn't.
Yeah, it is so good. I mean, to be fair, if I'm being completely fair, I didn't know of this show until about 15 years ago. And a lady I work with called Julie Rudy, who's into music, used to talk to me about music, said to me, blah blah blah, Flight of the Conchords. I said, what's that? And she said, I'm bringing you the DVDs tomorrow, and you're going to watch them. And
I've heard the music. I think mostly because Tim's talked about it on the podcast, to be honest. Like, and I've looked them up, but like, I didn't know it was a TV show.
Yeah, Joy, you have to watch Flight of the Conchords.
Is it about like a
It's
plane?
basically like, how can I best describe it? You've seen the HBO episodes of Tenacious D.
Yes.
It's the same principle as that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly, it's a similar principle. Apart from they're living in New York City, they're New Zealanders. They have a manager called Murray, who's some kind of consular attaché who works at the New Zealand embassy.
Of course they do.
And then he gets some of these gigs, which normally involves there's no one there or something. And hilarity ensues. But it is so hilarious.
I will say, Tim, I didn't even know they were a musician until we've had this podcast.
Yeah,
so
they
taught me a
are
lot.
very talented musicians in real life. But the show is fantastic. And Joy, when we press stop on this recording, I have to get these episodes to you somehow so you can see them, because I'm surprised Charlie has not seen it, because it's basically Tenacious D adjacent.
I have to send it to him. That is right up his alley because if everybody doesn't know, Charlie's my husband, and Charlie is a hardcore. If he ever leaves me, as for Tenacious D. Jack Black lover. So that completely says no. We've talked about Flight of the Conchords on this podcast, but I've just added their music to like my, to like my playlist and listen to them. But I've never really realized it was a TV show.
Yeah, there's an episode that's got Art Garfunkel in it. It's got Patton Oswalt is in an episode. I mean, this is good. So there's a guy from the Village People in an episode. It's fantastic.
News to me, Tim. I'm I don't know. We've talked about them and I listened to their music because we talked about it, but I didn't realize it was a TV show. You learn and you live. You know what I mean, Tim? You learn and you live.
Exactly. Well, yeah, this is heading your way, Joy. Be prepared. It's like 10 episodes, but you're gonna have to.
Tim never makes me watch anything because he watches like 0.2% of the world. That's all.
Yeah.
So I have to. All right.
Okay, so let's move on to another song after the Flight of the Conchords. So this is a song which I don't know if I've spoken about before on this podcast. This is one of my most favorite pieces of classical music. It's from my favorite film of all time. It's from the film Moonraker, and it is the song "Flight into Space." Are you familiar with this piece?
I don't know if I am. Who sings it? Like, who's the artist?
Well, it's a classical score by John Barry, and it's the bit in Moonraker when he hijacks Moonraker 5 and he goes out into space.
I do know what that is. Like, I've heard that before.
And he sees Drax's space station for the first time, and the sun reveals it, and it's playing the song "Fly into Space." It's a classical piece, effectively, but I really like it, and I do have a CD copy of the Moonraker soundtrack just because I like it so much.
I mean, every time anyone talks about Moonraker, all we think about is Tim now. It's a legal obligation, guys. If you ever hear Moonraker, you should just be like, oh, Tim O'Sullivan.
Yeah, Moonraker has always been my favorite film of all time. I mean, growing up, I didn't have many films. Like we had a Philips Video 2000 recorder. We didn't have VHS. We didn't have Betamax. We had Philips Video 2000. And Philips Video 2000 was a format that was obviously made by Philips that was only available in Europe. It never came to the United States. And the cassette tapes were larger than a VHS tape. But what was interesting, a 3-hour Video 2000 tape, you could turn it over. You'd record 3 hours on one side, you spin it over like an audio cassette tape, and record 3 hours on the other side. The video quality was much better than VHS, and it had a lot of features that VHS didn't have for a long time. The problem being is absolutely nobody else had one.
I knew that's where you're going with that.
No video shops really rented them. So whereas like friends at school and stuff would share videotapes of things they recorded or pirate films or whatever like that, I was very much left out of this equation because we had a Philips Video 2000. But one thing we did do is record some things off the TV. So I remember having Smokey and the Bandit. I remember having What else do we have? Ghostbusters I had on there. But one other one, Star Wars. The first time Star Wars hit TV, I had that. But the one that I
Hmm.
had that I watched the most was Moonraker.
Can I tell you the funniest story about recording on live TV that I have in my entire life? So my mom and dad are gonna be like, Joy, don't say this on live air, but I'm doing it now. So come fight me, mom and dad. With that being said, so my mom watches a soap opera. It's called Guiding Light. It was the longest running soap opera, period. Like that's just like its history, right, Tim? It's just a
Hmm.
known thing. My grandmother watched it from when it was on the actual radio. So take that in perspective, everybody.
Okay.
So my mom watched it very regularly, and I'm not judging her for liking a show, but that's not the point of all this. When I was a child, we were like recording on actual physical tapes, right, Tim? Like
Yeah.
actual tapes. Or whatever was happening in our family life. And there was so funny because all of the literal tapes that I was when I was a child were recorded over by this soap opera because of course they were. So there was like one funny tape that we found of like my childhood, Tim. It's me and Brandy, my twin sister, if you guys don't know this, running outside and we're like having fun. And we have to run inside. And you know what we're running inside for? Because my mom was going to start watching Guiding Light and then insert the fact that the entire tape is recording over by Guiding Light. The literal soap opera. Like it's a thing in my family. Like every tape that was like my childhood was recorded over by this soap opera as a kid. And it's just so funny because when you were talking about like, things that like were happening in you as a kid, right, Tim, and like actively recording and these things. That's what I think about is the fact that my every active thing in my childhood was recorded over by my mom's soap opera. I'm sorry, mom. Don't come for me, internet. And I don't think she meant it. It was just that those were the tapes that were available. And it was before, Vivo or like live TV was a thing.
Yeah, and tapes were at a premium. They were not cheap.
They were not. But it was just so funny because we were trying to go back one day, Tim, and like watch like my childhood tapes. And the only one we could find, because we kept going through them, and every single one of them was recorded over by this soap opera. And then the one we could find was me and my twin sister out having fun, like being like little kids, right? And then my mom calls, "Come inside! It's time for Guiding Light." Sorry, mom and dad. If you're listening to this, don't hate me. I still love you, but that is a truth thing that happened in my childhood. So Tim talking about this made me laugh because that's all I could think about is that, and I don't think it was a ill intent by my mother. I think it was just like tapes weren't cheap, and you know what I mean. Tim, you record over what you got, but it's just really funny because we in that moment were like, let's put on our family tapes, and that's what we got. So if you ever watch Guiding Light, I want you to think about Joy.
I will do if I ever see it on the TV, which I probably never will. But on the assumption I will one day, I will think of you, Joy.
It is the longest standing. This is a weird fact that I know because my grandmother watched this. I guess listened. I don't know what everyone call it. This literal soap operative. It was the longest running soap opera of all time because it started on the radio. Like my grandmother started listening to this on the radio. So in my mom's defense, like she heard this her entire childhood, Tim, and just wanted to follow it out. Like I have to give some mom some props. Like she literally grew up listening to it from the time that it was on the radio. I mean, I guess like the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever you want to call it. I mean, my mom wasn't born until the 60s, but my grandmother had been so endowed to it that she was listening to it from that point, right?
Hmm.
So, but anyway, that's just really funny that you were talking about that because I always think when I think about this, I always think about the fact that all of my childhood tapes were recorded over by Guiding Light. There you go, everybody. You learned something new about my family that my parents would probably not want me to put on this podcast. All right, what's the next song?
Okay, so the next one is from the album Five, which was the fifth album by this artist. The artist being Lenny Kravitz, and this
Of
is the
course.
song "Fly Away."
I mean, Lenny Kravitz is such an interesting person because I can't quite understand him. I just don't know how to feel about him as a person. What do you think, Tim? I just don't
I
know how
think
to
he's
feel.
an incredible talent. I think he's an amazing songwriter and producer and musician. And much like Prince, he plays 52 different instruments. But like I said, I watched a concert of his on Peacock, and I don't know, it wasn't concise and there was lots of messing about between songs.
But to be fair, I want to fly away is one of the most iconic, like, as someone who grew up in that time frame, because we're talking about like late 90s, right?
Sure.
97, 99. I want to fly away. It's probably one of the most iconic pieces of music that I can think back to be completely transparent with you, Tim. Like, it is such a good piece of music. And the thing about it is I think that Lenny Kravitz is one of those people that, like, I just don't think people think about him as a person. He's very he's very talented, like Tim was saying. Like, let's put him up there. And the fact that he plays like 74 instruments and he has all this great music, but that like this song is one of the songs though that I think is one of the defining moments of my childhood as someone who grew up in the 90s. But like when you talk about Lenny Kravitz, nobody really like pays attention to him. He's probably one of the most underrated people in our generation when it comes to the 90s, right?
Yeah, I mean, and also he has a massive scarf.
He also wears that big hat sometimes too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a modern day troubadour. Of course, he's going to have a hat and a massive scarf.
He really is. He also is one of those people that like when you see him play live though, I think that he's really good live too. From
Yeah,
what I've
I mean,
gathered, he's a great artist live. I think that like his Tim will tell you this because Joy just gave him all the praise in the world about his guitar playing, but I think he is known to be a pretty good guitar player, like
yeah.
live.
Well, I mean, mostly live, the guitar player is Craig Ross, but a lot of
Mm.
what you hear on the recorded works is in fact Lenny Kravitz.
I mean, I don't know, guys. I'm not the one to ask, but Tim's probably right. Whatever he said sounds good. I don't know. But I do think he's known to be like someone who, like Tim was saying, is like a virtuoso when it comes to music. I think, right? I don't know
Sure,
for sure,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
he's also like American Woman, I Belong to You. Like all those songs are fantastic. So go
Always on
Lenny
the
Kravitz,
run, of
go.
course. That's a great song that has Slash on it.
Yes, that's a really good one. The thing about it is he's one of those people that like I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think he's kind of underrated.
I think he's appropriately rated.
Okay, well, we'll debate about that another time. What's the next
Maybe we
song?
need to do an episode under, over, or appropriate when it comes to rating.
We would be here all week because I feel like me and you would be like, maybe, I don't know, probably good, maybe 74% good. All right, what's the next song, Tim?
Okay, so this one is an artist who I've actually seen recently.
Mhm.
This is David Lee Roth from the album Skyscraper. So that's how we get our flying high reference in there. And this is a song just like Paradise.
Okay, that's an interesting song because I've heard it a few times, but it's not a song that like you hear very often, Tim. Um,
Well, if you lived in my house, you would.
I mean, that's a debate for another time. I mean, I like that Tim literally skyscraper from like what the 80s, late 80s.
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
it's it's
that
from the
talking about?
80s. When David Lee Roth left Van Halen in 19, well, it was sort of early 1985 he left Van Halen or was kicked out of Van Halen, depending on what story that you listen to. I mean, he had the album Eat 'em and Smile, and then he had the album Skyscraper. I mean, he's had lots of albums, but this one in particular has got Just Like Living in Paradise on it, which is an absolutely fantastic song. Jason Becker plays guitar on it. It has a great video. I mean,
But if you were gonna pick one David Lee Roth song that someone knows that's like a independent song, I think this is probably up there because, like, to be honest with you, his solo career is not near as famous as everything else.
no,
I mean,
I
that's just
also
the
like
truth.
Little Ain't Enough. That is great. And that has an absolutely fantastic video. I would recommend you pull that one up on YouTube a little later enough.
All right, I will make sure I do that. I will absolutely make sure I do that. But Tim, was it David Lee Roth that you were talking about who was part of the Spear in Vegas, or am I crazy?
No, that wasn't David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth is who I saw at the Hard Rock in Bristol, who
I ignore everything Joy just said.
who's not a great singer, but he put on a great show.
All right. Well, we're just gonna pretend I didn't say that. What's the next podcast? Next podcast. What's the next song? The whole next podcast, everybody.
The next podcast, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. It's Joy's turn for the next podcast. I don't know. But as far as these songs are concerned,
continue. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. What's the next song, Tim?
let's go with a very obvious choice. This is the Steve Miller Band with the Jet Airliner.
Is there a lot of clapping ones in this one, Tim? It's up for debate.
I mean, I'm trying to not pick the completely obvious ones, but I thought, well, you can't have this list without having Steve Miller.
I know, but I want to know if there's clapping in it because there is a very distinct. So for people who don't know, Hannah has a very distinct thing about clapping, and she talked about the Steve Miller Band has a lot of clapping in their music.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
This is not a clap song.
I'm trying to think about it. Like I'm trying to hear it in my head and see if there's any like because I will say in all seriousness, you guys laugh at me, but I have never like thought about clapping music until Hannah told me the Steve Miller Band has clapping. And now every Steve Miller Band song, I hear "Come On, Take the Money and Run" or "Fly Like an Eagle," and I'm trying to find the clapping in it. I truly mean this, Tim. I've never thought about songs that have clapping in them. It's kind of like how I've learned like the background vocals of different music that we've been talking about on this podcast, and I've never heard it before until the podcast. I always, when I hear Steve Miller Band songs, I'm like, is there clapping? I don't know. Let me find the clapping. You have to tell Hannah that because she let me into that. I mean, Jet Airliner is pretty, isn't that a... It was also redone by another band, right? It was the Mamas and the Pop. Did they do a version of the Mamas and the Papas?
No, I mean Jet Airliner. Sorry, I can't even speak this evening. That is a sort of. I think it's a late '70s song. Mamas and Papas was '60s.
I feel like there's another version of it though. Am I crazy, Tim? Am I losing
It
my
wouldn't
mind?
surprise me. It's probably covered by someone on the soundtrack of some film that you know from 1990.
You're probably right. Modern Talking apparently did a version for a 1990s movie. So Tim's right. I Googled
Yeah, Modern
it.
Talking. Is that the same
else.
band that did Brother Louie?
Let's see. Modern Talking. Hold on. Modern Talking. I don't know who they are. So Tim probably sounds better, probably knows them than I do. Modern Talking.
They had a
You
song
said
called
Brother-
Brother Louie. Brother Louie. Brother Louie, Louie, Louie.
Yeah.
Louie.
Yeah, that is right. Ready for Romance. Wow, that's such the most it was not an American thing. This is very British. Deep Burning Love is a Fire, say, because, okay, yeah. 1986. Tim was correct, everybody. Give everybody Tim a clap.
Yay!
Random. Apparently, they did a version for it for a movie, and it became more popular than the Jet Islander version from Steve Miller Band, and it's all gonna go down history. Weird that you made that like literal. We're not gonna talk about that. Tim made that like literal collection. That's what we're saying. Like you made that from that
Connection.
statement.
It's a connection.
Connection. I wasn't gonna ever let me live that down. I was trying to find the word, and it's literally the most basic word of all time. Do you ever think people listen to this podcast and they're like, let me figure out when Joy's going to say something dumb and Tim corrects her? That's like 70% of the podcast anyway. All right. With that being said, Jet Airliner is a great song, though. We're talking about like mid-70s Steve Miller Band. We have not confirmed or denied if there's any clapping music in it, but... Hannah is a big Steve Miller. I don't know why, Tim. When I think of Steve Miller Band because of this podcast, I think of Hannah. I don't
Yeah,
know if that makes any sense.
she loves the Mighty Miller. I mean, when I took her to the Albert Hall to see Steve Miller, she was very pleased.
I feel like Tim thinks of like Tenacious D and he thinks of my husband Charlie. I see Miller Band and I think of Hannah. It all checks out really at this
There we
point.
are. Everything ties together perfectly.
And Joy can't do words. So what's the next episode? Next episode. Next song. I can't. Y'all,
Okay.
I'm done tonight. I'm done.
So the next song is a song shootout. So
Okay.
you have to tell me which one of these two songs with identical titles you prefer. They're both called Learning to Fly. One is by Tom Petty and one is by Pink Floyd.
Okay.
It's a song shootout.
Song shootout. I mean, I've heard both of these things. Yes.
What is your
Oh,
preference?
Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I have to go with Pink Floyd. I mean, I like Tom Petty.
I felt bad to say it, like I really did, but I have to say Pink Floyd.
Yeah, and Tom Petty is a fine artist, legendary musician, member of the Traveling Wilburys, collaborated with Dave Stewart, circling back to my audiobook review. However, this is a later Pink Floyd from the album Momentary Lapse of Reason, but I have to tell you, I much prefer this song.
Well, the thing with Tom Petty is, and I his last name really fits him because what I've gathered is he's a little petty. I've seen some things talk about him. He might be a little petty. But yeah, I have to say it is Pink Floyd. And I actually own this album. I've talked about this on vinyl, on record, vinyl, the official vinyl. We will listen to the vinyl in my house because my husband is a big Pink Floyd fan in my house. And I don't even know, I'm not even saying I'm like a hardcore aficionado about Pink Floyd. That's a whole debate for another time, Tim. But that is what plays in my house regularly.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. But yeah, I would say that the Pink Floyd version is where I stand.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said before on this podcast, I actually like the post Roger Waters Pink Floyd. I don't know. There's
100%.
something. Yeah, there's something about it. I mean, of course, your classic Pink Floyd is with Roger Waters, but my first album that I ever bought of Pink Floyd was The Division Bell. So that for me is the Pink Floyd I'm most familiar with.
My husband is one of those people that he hears like one song, Tim, and he like really zones in on artists. It's so funny we talk about this because he really loves Pink Floyd, but we've also talked about the Flash Gordon soundtrack. And he did not realize for how long that it was done by Queen, right?
Yeah.
We joked about this, but he loves those very grandiose kind of big bombastic things. That's what Charlie likes. And so Pink Floyd really plays into that. And for good or for worse, there's some bad stuff that you could say about the people in Pink Floyd. I don't care. I'm not going to get into that. But that's just what he likes. And I kind of enjoy it in some way myself. Like, it's not my 100% what I love every day, but that's just who he is. So that's what I hear every day, guys. So as much as I like the Steve Miller Band, that's not what we're talking about.
We're talking about Pink Floyd, Joy.
Yes, that's where I was. As much as I love everything we were talking about, is that it's just those big bombastic, and Pink Floyd's like that. Like they have that radio. It's almost like you could have an orchestra playing over them, Tim, and it would work so well.
Yeah,
it really would. Everybody's like, Joy, why did you go back to Steve Miller Band? It's because sometimes my brain doesn't work. It just gets distracted. Well, Tim's like, I'm used to it. Joy doesn't have the brain that can connect. With that being said, guys, everybody, what's the next song?
Okay, so the next song, again, taking a complete polar opposite from those two rock artists, we're going with Bette Midler and her song from the Beaches soundtrack, Wind Beneath My Wings.
Another song that my husband absolutely adores because he loves these grandiose songs. Wings Beneath My Wing. What is
it's very hard to say, especially at 9 p.m. on a Friday night. But it is.
Yeah, and everybody's yelling at us.
It's Wind Beneath My Wings.
You guys know if Tim can't say it, then Joy can never say it. Joy has lost every ability. But I will say this is one of those songs that I've heard. I mean, it's playing at a CVS right here, right now, Tim.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. It's on their standard playlist.
Winds beneath my wings. Winds beneath my wings. I said it, Tim. It's also, is it an original or is there another person who does this?
I don't know. I thought it was a Bette Midler song.
Hold on. We need to do some official research, everybody. Hang on. It's an original. Because, I mean, Beaches is one of the most iconic albums of all time, of course. But
Well, in the realm of films of that ilk soundtracks, absolutely.
hold on. Original. Somebody else do this, though? Like, I feel like there's another version.
I think it's been covered by people.
Probably. I mean, who wouldn't do this? Now that you guys are here, you can Google this because I'm curious.
Give it a
I
goog,
actually
Joy.
am curious. Oh no, it's just been redone by 74 different people.
Yeah, it's been redone by many people.
I mean, it might be the most random song ever, Wind Beneath My Wings. And if you ever hear it, you know, it sounds exactly, did you know you're my hero? Blah, blah, so on and so forth. It does feel very much like, you know, you could fly out on a plane and the song could be playing, Tim.
Absolutely. Or, I mean, I've flown on a lot of airplanes recently and I haven't listened to this song.
When you're flying on an airplane, Tim, do you listen to music or do you watch a show? What's your go-to?
I cannot watch shows because it gives me motion sickness.
That's
So
what
I
was
never
thinking.
watch anything. I only ever listen to things. And I sort of go between podcasts, audiobooks, and music. The problem with music, I cannot use noise canceling headphones. And the reason I generally cannot use them, the way that they work is that they put like negative frequencies at high decibel levels into your ears, which cancels out bad noise. So if you're on an airplane and you've got noise canceling headphones on, you won't hear the noise of the engines and air and stuff because it's canceling that out. But it's bashing your ears with multiple decibels of like reverse sound to cancel that sound out. And it really makes my tinnitus spike. And if I use noise canceling headphones for any period of time, my ears ring uncontrollably.
I'm so glad you say that. So, Tim, I am one of those people that if I'm on like on a flight or something like this, I will listen to a podcast or I will listen to like a YouTube video before I will listen to music. Everybody thinks that that's crazy because like I feel like as someone who runs a music podcast, everybody thinks I just listen to music all the time, right, Tim?
Sure.
But me and you could literally talk for 27 days and probably, if somebody put a song out right now, we'd be like, that's Cher, that's Madonna, that's Elton John, right? Like, we just know it. But I actually don't, sometimes in certain situations, I don't listen to music. And that
Sure.
sounds weird, and I feel like everybody thinks I should be, but I'd rather listen to a podcast because exactly what Tim was saying. Because I do struggle with the tinnitus in my ears because I have, in my family, we have a literal disorder where, like, we talked about it. So my twin sister talked about it on the podcast. We have a hearing disorder, right, Tim?
Sure.
And so, like, we do have that, like, growing up, like, we understand this. But it's so funny you say that because I feel like every time I say I'm not listening to music 24/7, everybody thinks I'm being crazy. I'm like, no, sometimes I just. So certain situations where you need to just listen to like a podcast or listen to a YouTube video or something. And planes are one of them for me. They are.
Yeah, I mean, I will listen to music. I listened to music for some of the flights that I was on, but mostly it was audiobooks and podcasts.
Because the thing about it is like, it's just kind of have to pick and choose, right? I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. It's just very interesting that you said that because I feel like and Charlie even does this and he's like, Joy, what do you mean you don't want to listen to music right now? I'm like, I don't want to listen to music. I'd rather listen to a podcast or I'd like listen to this. And they're like, what do you mean? And I just feel like the assumption is you run a music podcast, Tim, you should be just listening to music 24/7. I'm like, there are certain situations that I don't want to.
No, absolutely. So sometimes you don't want to do that.
And I would rather listen to a podcast. Also, Tim, I can't sleep on planes.
I
Especially
can,
when you're going to the UK. I can't sleep overnight. I just can't.
I can sleep to some degree, but in reality, the bit when you're traveling from US to UK, the bit where they turn the lights off is probably about 3 hours and 3 hours, four
Thank
hours
you.
tops. So you don't get a lot of time anyway. And I slept a little bit, but not a great deal.
I live in that like I kind of close my eyes and like I'm halfway asleep, but I'm never when I'm on a plane, Tim, I'm never truly asleep. I just can't.
Yeah, I can maybe do an hour or two on that in that sort of instance, but
I
yeah,
just can't. It's not for me. I just can't do it. And everybody feels like they feel like when they cut the lights off, Tim, everybody's just gonna instantly fall asleep, right? It's like, no, no, I'm not doing that. And then when it even gets, I also was the person who gets frustrated because it looks like everybody else is asleep, but I can't sleep. I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10, Tim, do you feel like sleeping on a plane is better than in a car? What's your level?
better than sleeping in a car because my preference is not to sleep in a car because again, motion sickness.
You're usually driving too, I feel.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, I'm always driving.
Mm, I don't know. It's hit for miss. Charlie, my husband though is the person who can sleep in any of this, Tim. Like if
Hmm.
you put Charlie in a plane, instantly asleep. Put him in a car, instantly asleep. Me, I'm like, no, I just can't do it. None of this is do anything with that. So with that being said, we should probably give one or two more songs to about
Yeah,
flying.
I think
Done.
we should have one more song and
All
then we
right.
will wrap this up.
It's been a very interesting episode where I got distracted 30% of it. Continue.
Absolutely. All right. So the last song, the song we're going to close with,
I love it. You called me out. He's like, yeah, Joy's been distracted. All right, what's next?
the song we're going to close with is by The Birds. And this is the song 8 Miles High. And of course, when you are flying on a commercial jet, you are flying at 30,000 feet, which is approximately 8 miles in the air.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever knew that. I mean, I know what the birds are, and I've definitely heard this song, Ingmar Heil, and I'm very familiar with the psychedelic kind of like to everything turn like when I think of the birds, right? But I didn't know that that was an actual. So 8 Miles Howl is what in the sky? Like, what is the reference?
I mean, it's probably to do with drugs, to be fair, because it's the birds in the 60s.
I thought you were saying like it's a legitimate like when you fly, you're 8 miles high. I took that way too literal. This 90% of this episode is me saying something dumb and then laughing at Tim going, no joy. I spent 20 minutes talking about an episode. Okay, anyway. But so 8 miles high. Yeah, it's probably about drugs.
It probably is. And the one thing I will tell you is that Roger McGuinn was very influenced by the musician John Coltrane, who played a saxophone. And when he plays the solo on 8 Miles High on his 12-string Rickenbacker guitar, he was trying to do what John Coltrane did with the valves on his saxophone. He was going for a very similar vibe, apparently.
I always just think when I think about I think about Gene Clark and I think about I mean I'm Roger McGuinn is the person that Tim's talking about, but like I do think a lot about Glenn Clark and Gene Clark, Glenn Clark, whatever his name is. Yeah, it's probably drugs.
It's
I always think of
probably.
when I think of the birds, I just think a lot about I just think about to everything turn. That's all I think of, to be
Yeah.
completely transparent with everybody. I do know this song, but that's not the first thing that comes to mind. And this is one of those interesting bands that I think defined a generation, but it was a very much the 60s.
Absolutely 100%. It is the sound of that generation.
I love how it was like, Tim, so is this something legitimate? You're like, no, it's about drugs. At least because it's always like when we talk about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You guys, I have to lead the people with this because it's the funniest moment in my life. When I thought in the early I don't know. When I was younger and we were doing these things on the internet and we were in early Xbox days, you had to put like gamer code and I had my thing as Lucy in the Sky with Diamond. And I thought that was the super cool. I was so edgy, Tim. And looking back now, people always probably just thought I was on LSD. I really think about that a lot because I didn't quite get it because I was young and dumb and thought, I'm hip, I'm cool, I like the Beatles, right, Tim? You know what I mean? And now I'm looking back and I'm like, yeah, that song was about LSD. I don't care what anybody says it was.
Well, Joy, we live and we learn.
30% of this episode is Joy debating about laughing and clapping songs. I hope you guys made it to the end. With that being said, would you like to leave the people with anything?
Yes, just be kind to everyone that you meet, especially kind to people you sit next to on aeroplanes.
All right, bye-bye!
Bye-bye!